Kia ora team, Pete here from Young Guns. Just a bit of a short video looking at crayfish, bit of advice around where do we look for them, what are they I suppose, and just some general bits and pieces I've learned over the years about looking for these. So crayfish we obviously find pretty much New Zealand wide. They're exported under spiny rock lobster or red or southern spiny rock lobster. You find them kind of anywhere from about a metre of depth all the way down to sort of hundreds of metres. If you're someone like Joseph Gunson, you find them in 23 metres or so, but me personally, I've never managed to quite find them down there for some reason. So I guess just to start with, where do we actually look for them? What I'm always looking out for is anything bouldery or cracky, and it also has this weed you can see on the screen. I've always been brought up to say and call that cray weed. I don't know its actual name, but it seems to grow in the same sort of place we seem to find crayfish. This clip here I think is a pretty good summary of what you should be doing. Unfortunately with crayfish, this is what the majority of your diving will probably look like unless you're in a really good spot. It will just be searching, holding your breath for as long as you possibly can on the bottom, looking around, trying to find something. And yeah. So you're swimming around all the nothingness under the boulders and the cracks looking for it. You finally find one. My first recommendation is if you are down there with your gun, put your gun down somewhere close to the hole. That way you can mark it, especially in bad viz. That means you'll get straight back to that hole and know exactly where your crayfish is instead of trying to figure out where it was. And then obviously here I've dropped my gun. I'm going back down to have a go at these crays. You can't really see them. Okay, but I know I've kept an idea in my brain of what the rock looks like that they were under, and I've kept looking at it, and I go down and the crays are there. Lucky enough to get a couple out of this hole. In an ideal world, this will be what your cray diving looks like. Straight down, turn your GoPro on, grab a crayfish. His mate's down there, so we might go have a look at him in a bit, but for now we're just checking out this one we've got. Giving it a little touch up, see if it's soft. This one's not, so we're stoked. As you can see, it's only got one set of pleopods on each of its segments in its tail, so that means this is a little male cray, which means it has to be 54mm across where those first set of pleopods are. Here's us measuring it. Obviously with crayfish sometimes measuring is easier said than done as they flip their tail around, but we're happy. Give it a double check. Basically, as long as it doesn't fit in the measure, okay, you are able to take it. This is 54mm for a male cray and 60mm for a female cray, with our MPI measure there. Next thing I kind of want to talk about is depth. A lot of people think you have to dive deep for crays, but this is a prime example of a cray just cruising around shooting some butters and see this from the surface. Not a monster cray, but a nice cray that doesn't really need a measure, so we're pretty confident in its size. And at the end of the day, you don't have to dive 10-15 metres to be finding crayfish. Majority of the crays I find will be 5 or so metres, if not shallower, especially around Wellington this time of year between sort of November and March. They seem to come right in close. Once again, just giving it the checks. Check it's soft. We can see it's a female, it's got double pleopods, no berry, easy as. Goes on the measure, 60mm, doesn't fit anywhere near in there, so she's safe to take. So for crays, sometimes when they're quite far out of a hole like this, that can be a good sign that they're either in berry or soft. For the soft shell, they're trying to harden their shells up. For females in berry, they're just trying to find somewhere a bit shallower and protected to look after their eggs. I'm a little bit apprehensive with this. You see I don't give it much of a hiding, I'm just kind of gently getting it out. I can see it's got berries, so it's straight back in that hole, returned to breed for another day. The next bit of advice, I guess, comes to, once again, when you found a crayfish, you would have seen that last clip, I've done this. I'm wandering around, looking through the weed, boom, crayfish. You notice I don't go for it straight away. Depending on the crayfish, most of the time I will not have a go at them the first time I see them. Okay, and I'll get back down there like in this clip, and then I'll have a go at it and get that cray out. A couple of reasons for this. One, I'm a bit more relaxed, I can hold my breath for a little bit longer if there is a bit of a fight, and two, it just sort of means I'm not rushing it and I get to actually have a think about it. The next really important thing I'd just like to talk about is that idea that crays do nest, and they do tend to hang around with their mates. So here's a bit of a classic example of that. Obviously a nice little nest here. Gauging it out, which one's the biggest. I've marked this spot, gone down, got my cray, have a go. You can see there's quite a few in there. Happy as Larry, here's a small cray, not a monster, and up we go. So we're happy with that last cray, and then we are straight back down to that rock. Not the same hole, don't like to take too many from the same hole, but just having a look around the area, and then off to the other side of this rock, just peering in there. There's a lovely cray. This cray ended up being quite a nice one, not a monster, but it's a very solid crayfish. Very happy with that buck. Checking if he's soft. Was a little bit unhappy with this one, so he actually went back, but was just stoked to have found a nice cray. It'll be one of those things where the biggest cray of the day's soft or in berry or something like that, but at the end of the day it's about looking after this awesome resource we have. We are kaitiaki after all, so we just need to make sure that anything soft, anything like that goes back, and we are looking after it. And here's that, probably something we don't see too often in diving videos, but just that cray going back. It's quite cool to watch. You see him flick his tail back and go back there with a mate down there. So ducks away, ready to fight another day and get a bit bigger for the next time. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is that if crays are your goal, it's quite complicated advice, I know, but you need to look for crays. Don't mess around focusing on shooting fish, focus on looking for crays, and something like this will still happen where keeping your eyes on some holes, you're still going to shoot a few butters, you're still going to get the treats you get otherwise, you're not going to miss out just because you're looking at crays. At the end of the day, you are looking under rocks, and if you're lucky enough to live somewhere like Wellington, we all know what we're going to find under rocks if it's not a crayfish. Okay, it's going to be a little bit of black gold. So this tends to be where I find my biggest power I get, is by looking in cray holes in places that people don't seem to look for power. And then of course with cray diving, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you make some terrible decisions on some easy crayfish. Like this fella here, couldn't possibly get away, so I go in a bit soft and ka kite bird. Likewise in this one, get down to the hole, have a look around in the cave, and obviously quite dark and tight in here, so scare one back in my entry, which I don't think you can quite see. But you can see a few little feelers poking out there. You're trying to see if I can get him, but no luck. So up we go, defeated, but always really important to just go double check, have a look around. What sometimes happens is something stupid like this, is the cray's actually backed itself up, but it's backed itself up to the crack on top. And have a look here, I don't think you can actually see it, but get my hand in there, and out comes a cray grabbed by the tail, which is always a bit of an interesting find. We'll just finish off with some general cray videos over the last couple of years. I guess my final thing with this is just thinking about that idea that Legacy talks about, which is limiting your catch, not catching your limit. We've all kind of got our own kaupapa when it comes to things like this, and for me it's all about that idea that I want my kids, much like you young fellas, to grow up being able to dive, being able to enjoy this awesome hobby. Okay, so for me that means not taking my limit, making sure I'm only taking what I need, okay, rather than taking extra just to find somewhere for it to go.